Am I the only one who didn't know this arc even existed? I thought they beat Shishio, jumped in the air, high-five, freeze-framed, and stayed like that for all of eternity. But that's not what happened at all. There was a final arc, and a final villain who, in my opinion, was not as great as Shishio, but was perfect to end the story with, and I'll show you what I mean. But first, spoilers ahead for a manga that ended 21 years ago. Who just grew a gray hair? So, at the end of the Kyoto arc, the team decided it was time to celebrate by going to their favorite restaurant. The team being Kenshin, Kaoru, Sanosuke, and Yahiko. But then the restaurant's blown up by a guy with a cannon for an arm. A guy who wants revenge on Kenshin for cutting off his arm, who's a part of a group of people who want revenge on Kenshin. Some of these guys who want revenge have really ridiculous reasons for wanting revenge, and it becomes obvious that they're just looking for an excuse to kill somebody. With the only exceptions being Cannon Arm Guy, Literal Venom from Spider-Man, and Enishi Yukishiro. Now, what makes this man a better final villain than Shishio despite being a one-note character is best displayed by looking at Kenshin's other villains. Most of the villains in the story that Kenshin faced were people unable to accept the new country that he helped to create. They were living in the past, so time and time again, Kenshin had to fight and defend what he created. It kind of reminds me of Red Dead Redemption. Throughout the game, everyone knew that the time of the cowboy outlaw was coming to an end, and no one knew how they would live after that. That's probably why a lot of them didn't live after that. Kenichi is different though. He's not longing for a past culture. He just wanted to live happily with his sister. And then Kenichi killed his sister's fiance. And then Kenichi killed his sister. But not before marrying his sister. He messed up that whole family. Probably a bunch of other families too. To be honest, Kenichi was always a little messed up even as a kid, but I don't think he would be this much of a villain if Kenshin didn't commit that original sin in his life. When we met Kenshin at the start of the story, he was a man running from and being haunted by his sins. So what better final villain could we ask for than a physical embodiment of those sins? That's all Enishi is. Now, Enishi is not as strong as Shishio. That's established very early on. He doesn't do as much physical damage as Shishio, but when it comes to psychological damage, Enishi destroys Kenshin, to the point that Kenshin throws himself into a literal human garbage dump. He does come back from it, of course, but it was a tough and interesting journey to take the character on. One that fully completes the character. But it wasn't just Kenshin. Yahiko and Sanosuke got the full rounded character treatment as well in this arc. There was even a part where Sanosuke returned to his hometown that gave us an origin story before the origin story that further solidified the meaning of the mark of evil on his back. Yahiko got in some real fights too. You could see the samurai he was turning into, the samurai of the new age. Koharu and Megumi were there too, and they were very important to the arc, but they didn't get much character growth, which was sad. As for the three most interesting characters, you already know who they are. They're these guys. I already talked about them. I wanted to add Enishi to the list, but he doesn't have much of a character outside of hating Kenshin. This guy brushes his teeth while imagining every potential cavity to be Kenshin's happiness, which is great as the final villain, but to stand on his own as a character, not so great. Rurouni Kenshin, the final arc, is the ending I didn't know I needed. I really look forward to the anime adaptation. But that's it. Let me know in the comments if you actually knew about this part of the story, and if you did, how do you think it matches up to the rest of the story?